You would think, on the face of it, Arsenal against Manchester City was not to be missed. It ended up honours even, did it not? Thanks to a late Martinelli equaliser. Starting the game with a host of creative outlets on the bench, though, versus parking the bus for the last half hour. Danny, whose safety-first approach was more regrettable, Arteta's or Guardiola's?
I wouldn't say regrettable for either of them. I mean, the backlash on Arteta...
Do you think it was a good game? Did you enjoy watching it?
Yeah, from an intriguing point of view, tactically, because seeing City do what they did, I've not seen before. That was intriguing, and now Arsenal then kept having to probe. But I think the backlash on Arteta's over the top.
Why?
Well, if you try and give it balance and perspective, the top six from the last 2 seasons, they haven't lost to them for 2 seasons up until the Liverpool game. That's incredible in itself. Last season, they lost to Bournemouth twice, West Ham, drew with Everton twice, drew with Brighton twice. Their problem isn't in the big games. So yesterday, the only problem was, I think, people were saying, and I kind of agree, Eze should have been starting. But other than that, it's similar team to that he always plays. I just don't get the backlash. I think Arsenal are going to be up there. They're a good side. Good side.
Oh, there's no doubt they're going to be up there. But I think in order to win a Premier League, you have to have a little bit of art about you. And there was little. And you can make the observation about what team you set up against Atletico Bilbao, but Atletico Bilbao are not Manchester City. And it's one thing, and I have to agree with Danny to some extent and disagree in equal measure. It's one thing where the top sides often cancel one another out. They often play these games out where there's a lot of respect and a lot of balance in the game, and it comes out with either a narrow win for one side or a draw. It's against the opposition that play in a different way that you've got to win leagues. You can actually, I mean, I know there's an argument saying that we've debated it here with Martin O'Neill and Graham Souness that you don't have to beat one another to win the league in the Scottish Premier League. I suspect you probably do. But I watched the game yesterday and I was fundamentally bored. I expected two sides. Whether Man City are changing and more
styles make fights, though, don't they?
Well, yeah, but when you've got the
to a
best,
degree.
When you've got the best, apparently the best, or two of the best against the best, and you've got attacking prowess and abundance,
you
want to see it.
Liverpool Arsenal last year, 2 games were both 2-2, terrific games.
Yeah.
You know, it's sometimes you get games that aren't great.
Danny, did Arsenal start with enough creativity out there, or was the creativity on the bench?
Well, you're always going to get people who say they should have had him starting and ahead of him when you've got such an abundance of talent. There's always going to be someone. If he'd played somebody else, Martinelli instead of Madueke, or started Saka, who's been injured, and put Madueke on the bench, people would be saying, Madueke's playing great, why is he not playing?
So why did he change it at half-time?
Because
was that not him admitting that he got it wrong at the start?
Well, they were chasing the game, so you have to adapt. And he did adapt. And then they dominated the second half even more. And Eze set up the goal with a brilliant... I think Eze should have been starting. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, overall, Arteta's progression with the team, to come from a side that used to get hammered constantly by City and Arsenal, they've conceded 6 against Chelsea, 5 against City, 5 against Liverpool. Between 2017 and 2023... they were getting pumped. 9 times City and Liverpool scored 3+ goals against them. So now they're a side that go up against these top teams and actually are very competitive. Who goes to Liverpool and stops them having a shot on goal?
Nobody denies the evolution of Arsenal. The question is...
You're talking about getting over the line. Well, that is the big question. But he's brought them to this point now where he's been backed. He's got an abundance of talent that he hasn't had before. Strength in depth. Let's judge him at the end of the season.
Do they win the league this year?
I think they've got a hell of a chance.
You think they'll go past Liverpool? Do you?
I wouldn't say they would go past Liverpool. I don't know.
They can't then if they go past Liverpool because Liverpool are likely to be ones.
I don't know who's going to win it. I hope Liverpool win it, but I'm saying that Arsenal have got a hell of a chance.
I think that it's unrecognisable, the Arsenal of 2017, 18 and 19 that were in managed decline post Arsene Wenger, that saw Unai Emery being given a terrible time and the team morphing into something that was very indifferent. The ownership was very indifferent. There was a point at one time where, Stan Kroenke was the billionaire, sort of comfortable with mediocrity. That changed post-COVID. He's been given all amounts of money. You cannot make the case that Arsenal are a good side. You have to make the case now are Arsenal a Premier League winning side, because every other manager that's got this kind of resources, and money is a big part of it, this kind of club, there's only 3 or 4 clubs in England that are considered to be legacy clubs. One of them is Arsenal. If their motivation is to participate and be a top side, then Arteta stays there until he shuffles off his mortal coil. If their motivation is to win something, then there's little excuse.
I agree with that.
Little excuse.
But I don't think now is the time for judgment and the time for criticism.
But that's not how it works, is it?
No, but I think it's exaggerated. I think it's been exaggerated.
Players by managers are judged in the moment.
Well, they always will because
so
of
a player gets put on for 45 minutes, decided that in that 45 minutes he hasn't done enough, and gets the hook, right? So why isn't the manager judged instant? I don't like it either, but it's the reality.
It is reality, but I think
38 times. There's only so many times in the season you've got an opportunity to win a game.
Yeah, I think
the question, Danny, is being risk averse a bad thing in a title race? Is it going to come back to bite Arsenal in the backside?
It depends on your interpretation of risk. I mean, what I'm hearing is that the reason his pragmatism is playing Moreno instead of Eza. That's what I'm hearing. Now, nobody really looks into that. Why did he play Moreno in that position? One, because he's a good player, and also one of his teammates who he's known for years and knows better than anybody is Rodri, who generally dictates games, Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah.
So maybe he thought, he's the one person in my team who knows this fella best, and I'm going to ask him to do a job on him, and then get us in the game, and we'll bring on who we need when we need. Stopping the best holding midfielder in the world is not a bad game.
But isn't that a fair observation without making it about Arsenal being battered in this conversation, because they're a very good side with a very good manager? Isn't that about worrying about the opposition? Why about let the opposition worry about you? If you spend your time being focused on what the opposition do, you'll do nothing about being wide.
I understand that, but if you listen to Pep talk many times about Klopp's Liverpool with Mane, Salah and Firmino and how amazing they are, and how he's been thinking and losing sleep because he wanted to find a plan to be able to beat them.
Okay.
They won the title 4 in 5 years, granted, but the reality is Pep Guardiola loses sleep thinking about Liverpool's front three.
But no one could have accused Man City of not being a side to put it upon the opposition.
Well, do you know what? The other side of this break, we're going to hear from Pep Guardiola.
Of course.
We're going to hear from Pep Guardiola. We're also going to hear from Mikel Arteta, and we also want to hear from the Arsenal fans. 03717 223344. I mean, is being risk averse something that might come back to bite Arsenal and Arteta where they don't want to be bitten? So many texts and tweets coming in. There's Neil the Villa fan. Danny's great. Danny's great. Surprisingly intelligent. Danny's great. You're surprisingly intelligent.
Well, I suppose the perception is always that us footballers, working class lads, aren't the brightest, which is generally true.
Not with you, Dan. Not with you, mate. A lot to get through. Villa fans want to get in touch about, more specifically, what Unai Emery said about the Villa team at the weekend. Lazy. The lazy. Lazy here, lazy there. That seems to be the watchword with Unai Emery. And fan protests north and south of the border up in Glasgow before they played Hibs in the League Cup. Rangers fans protesting. Down here, West Ham fans protesting. We're going to be hearing from one of the West Ham spokesmen who is going to come on and join us on a Monday morning with Simon and Danny. In the meantime, Arsenal. What did we see in Arsenal? And one of the big questions being asked about Mikel Arteta, and many people might think this is a tough question and maybe a bit harsh, but when you see them draw yesterday against Manchester City, might it be that element that has got Arsenal so close to the title? Is it the very same element that is stopping them from getting over the line? Is that element Arteta himself? 03717 223344. Dave's a big Arsenal fan who's first up. Dave, good morning. What do you want to say, mate?
Good morning, guys. I just want to spin it in a different direction.
Yeah.
Is that 5 points dropped or 1 point gained? Because if you're going for a title and you're playing Liverpool this early in the season, that, by the way, at the time wasn't firing on all cylinders, he missed an opportunity there. He's now playing Man City. We're the home team. The emphasis is on us to go and beat that team. We've got to play them at the Etihad yet. And now they would have improved by the time we play them at the Etihad. So that's another missed opportunity. This is nothing new from this manager. He does it time and time again. We was told that we was going to find the missing jigsaw, the number 9. We needed a number 9. All he needs is a number 9. All we need is a striker. We get a striker. The guy's starved. He's not getting fed. There's no creativity. He's bang average. He looks bang average. No creativity in the team. We've got towels down the touchline for players to wipe the ball to launch in long throw-ins. £1 billion spent, and we look like Stoke City. This manager is an absolute joke. He's nicking £15 million off of this football club. He spent over 1 point.
Dave, a joke? A joke?
And he's
Someone say you were a joke before Arteta came on the scene.
He's 6 years. No, we wasn't a joke before Arteta came into the team.
You were.
We wasn't a joke. We was. If he'd have had the money spent that Arteta's had, then he would have turned it around. This guy is getting away with murder, and he's getting excuse after excuse after excuse. What is the narrative now? Oh, he put Pep on the back foot, and it's the first time he's had the least amount of possession in a game. I'm not interested in that. He had the opportunity to get 3 points off of a Man City team.
I think your point regarding the home game against City, first half, the intensity and really going after them, is there's some validity in that. I think if you think that any team can go to Anfield, even if they're not firing all cylinders, and go after them and get, I'm not having that at all, because Liverpool have torn you apart if you'd have left yourselves wide open. So I understand the home game. The reality is Arsenal are now as competitive as they've ever been, and now he's been given the funding and the squad to compete on every level. If he fails the end of this season, a lot of his arguments will be right.
And you think they will fail come the end of the season, Dave, because of the very reasons you spelt out?
Listen, any football manager with a team that we had last season would have won a trophy. Most football managers, you give that team to Glasner, you give that team to any manager, and they would have won the trophy. He's now improved the team. He pays all that money for Eze. He prizes Eze away from Crystal Palace. He gives him all the plum coming down the tunnel at Leeds and all the crowd cheering and everything else. And in the two biggest games of the season, he benches him.
Yeah, the first one he'd only just signed, hadn't he?
Right?
A couple of days before.
Going back on the Liverpool game, Danny, I can understand it's a tough place to go at any time of the year. I understand that. But at least give the players the opportunity to try and win the game. If we go at Liverpool and we lose, and we've peppered their goal, and your goalkeeper has made some brilliant saves, and we've had created chances and everything else, and we come out losing, I'll hold my hands up and go, right, okay, fair enough.
But you did just say when it's the home team. When Liverpool played at home to Arsenal, you could argue, like you just did against City, that it's Liverpool who have to set the tone and go after you because it's an opportunity. Liverpool didn't have a shot on target in the first half, even though they were trying to attack you. I mean, that's credit to you guys. It was both teams cancelled each other out. I don't think it's fair to just say Arsenal.
Right. I tell you what, Dave, you've spelt it out from your end. Do me a favour and stay in the line. Let's see if Elton, the Arsenal fan, agrees with you. Elton, good morning.
Good morning, guys. A pleasure to talk to you.
Hi, Elton.
Morning.
Good morning. What did we see? What are we seeing in Arsenal? Was it a lost opportunity yesterday?
I don't understand what the previous caller is talking about. I think we are a great team. We put City on the back foot. We lost a game against Liverpool to a wonder goal. It wasn't. Liverpool didn't outplay us. I don't understand what this guy is watching. I really don't understand at all. I thought we played awesome yesterday. Pep Guardiola has never played that way. I genuinely don't understand at all. It was a great game. Okay, I would have said that Eze should have started yesterday, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I thought we played really well. I don't understand. This is City we're talking about. This is City with
Elton.
Exactly.
Simon's going to come in a second. Dave, fellow Arsenal fan there, but he's saying you guys were awesome yesterday.
Listen. I'm not. Listen. What I'm saying is that this is not the first time this manager has set up in that way, right? And he's comparing how he played against Bilbao to how he's going to play at home against Man City.
Yeah, that's fair.
The alarm bells are ringing again. This manager cannot get us over the line. He's had a handful of opportunities. He chokes in big games. He done it against PSG. If that's a Champions League first leg knockout, right, and he sets up like that, and we draw 1-1, and we've got to go away from home to get a result, we're out the competition.
Okay, Dave, listen, many good points here. Before Simon comes in, Michael, you've been waiting. What do you want to say? Good morning.
Morning, boys. First of all, first time caller, I just want to say I love the show. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
A couple of quick points.
Thank you.
First point, I agree with the previous caller. Arteta is a good manager, but I think after 4 or 5 years, we can blatantly see he's not the guy who's going to get us over the line. And I just wanted quick little point about Danny's objectivity or potential lack of it. I think, Danny, as a former Liverpool alum, I think it suits you for us to have a manager who clearly isn't good enough to get over the line, considering we have the best squad in the league this season. And I think it requires just to be a bit more honest about what we have or what we don't have, because clearly we've got the squad, but we just don't have the manager.
Danny, can you be a bit more honest, please?
I understand.
Please, Danny,
I
please.
understand your view, but it's wrong. I actually think
Honestly?
they're a terrific side, and I think they're Liverpool's biggest competitor this season by a long way. The problem is this. So if an Arsenal fan comes on and says Arteta can't get us over the line, right? Fine. Who are you going to get to come in and change the style to a way that gets you over the line? Who can do that?
Well, I tell you what,
because I tell you what'll happen, Jim.
Go on.
The wish might come true, and what'll happen is they'll become more open and more easy to play against. And then all of a sudden, we've lost our defensive stability, we've lost our power, and we're all over the place.
Your team did it.
Klopp did it in a
No,
Would
but
you
no,
enjoy Liverpool if they played the way Arteta's Arsenal are playing?
I enjoy watching Liverpool, Arsenal, all the good teams because they've got great players. It's like, you mean in terms of style? Liverpool are similar to Arsenal the way they play.
Michael, if Slot was in the Arsenal home technical area, would Arsenal be playing that the way they played yesterday?
Absolutely not. And boys, I'm not even talking about us getting one of the top dogs like a Flick or an Enrique or a Slot. If you gave Oliver Glasner that squad, look what he just did with Crystal Palace. Look what he's doing to them now. Any half-decent manager with the players we have would get more out of this team. I mean, Stevie Wonder could have seen yesterday Eze should have been starting. Martinelli should have been playing. This isn't rocket science. Our manager is blatantly holding back this team. And until we get a proper manager who can get the best, because I can't think of any elite club in Europe, Barca, Bayern, Real Madrid, who would tolerate 5 years without a trophy when he's
Michael,
blatantly holding the team
thanks
back?
for the call.
Just a quick, Jim, I've got to say, just a quick one.
Go on.
He's using Glasner. Glasner is a pragmatic manager, set up a formation to play counter-attack football brilliantly. You couldn't do that at Arsenal.
He's working with what he's got.
Yeah, but then he'd change them, wouldn't he, Arsenal, to a degree? But we don't know that. That's just a wild stab in the dark.
We've heard from two strong-minded Arsenal fans here, Dave and then Michael. Simon, is the very element that's stopping Arsenal from getting over the line Arteta himself?
Well, I'm disinclined 5-6 games into the season to make the overall judgment. You've got a new set of players coming in there. Gyökeres is yet to fit into a framework that's been played a certain way for a number of years and they're adjusting to it. By the way, I don't think Arteta spent the entire time telling everyone that he needed a number 9. Everyone else spent the entire time telling Arteta that he needed a number 9. And he's gone and got a number 9 because the Havertz experiment has worked and not worked in equal measure. I mean, Danny talks about who would you get in place to win a Premier League. Well, Liverpool just did it. They took Arne Slot in to win the Premier League that Jurgen Klopp only won once in his 7 or 8 years at Liverpool. So it can be achieved if you've got the right mix and the right manager, and if you've got the right players in the dressing room, you've got an opportunity. But I think you have to judge Arteta at the end of this season.
Agreed.
And at the end of this season, if they've come up short again, then everyone can fill their boots.
Yep, I agree with that.
Look at these protests down here and north of the border. That's coming next. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy, live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. September the 22nd, Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy live on talkSPORT. We're coming to you live on your TV as well. There's one of many messages coming in. What an absolute treat having Danny in somewhat unexpectedly on a Monday morning. I love it when he's on a Wednesday. Now we've got him on a Monday, says Steve in Newcastle. Steve, I absolutely agree.
Thanks,
with
Steve.
that. We love the man Keown, but we love the man Murphy, and a lot to get through. So it was a goal apiece between Arsenal and Manchester City. Okay, we're agreed on that. How could we not be? That was the result. But when you look about who started for Arsenal and who didn't, maybe more appropriately, is being risk averse a bad thing in a title race? Might it come back to bite Arsenal in the beam end? But Arteta, post-match, refuted the idea he was too cautious.
Not too easy to say that. I think it's very clear what we wanted to do. Very well, we started the game. I think we completely dominated. I think after they scoring the goal without doing absolutely nothing before that, we were a bit shaky for 5 or 7 minutes, and after that we still got grip of the game again and start to dominate it. And in the second half, it was a continuation of that with one different player and then with 2 or 3 different players.
Danny, you kind of go with that, don't you? You'd say that's harsh to criticise Arsenal on the strength of what you saw yesterday, off the back of it.
I don't. There's always room for some criticism, but I think it's gone overboard. I think it's inflated to say that
Who's gone overboard?
they're not creative. The people I've heard on phone-ins, reading articles. It's basically if Ezra had started and it had ended 1-1, this wouldn't have been as... This is why. It's because he played three midfielders rather than 2 and a 1. So years ago, for years it's been Odegaard as a 10. And everyone felt that now he wasn't fit, Ezra should go in that role. And part of me thinks he should have, because he's such a talent and he can open you up from anywhere. We saw that with the pack.
But I think there's a feeling, Danny, amongst Arsenal fans, certainly from what I'm seeing in front of me this morning, so many messages coming in. It's unbelievable the response this show gets, and we're delighted about it. The feeling amongst many Arsenal fans is that 45 minutes were wasted.
The first 45.
And City were there to be got at. That's the impression I'm getting from Arsenal fans. There's Jeremy, there's Kezi, there's many of them getting in touch. Kezi's a Newcastle fan. He's trying to tell me something about what Newcastle were up to. But there's Tommy, there's Wolf saying exactly the same thing. City were there to be got at.
Well, if they'd have gone really after them, there's a chance playing against the best forward in the world and speedy wingers like Doku that you'd have been more than 1 down. As it was, the first half was two good teams trying to feel each other out, and that happens in many big games. It's like when Arsenal went to Liverpool. It was a game decided on a wonder strike from Szoboszlai. If Arsenal had gone after Liverpool, hell and leather, the first 20, 30 minutes, they could have been done. You're not talking about playing lower league opposition or even bottom of the Prem. You're talking about Manchester City and Liverpool games here.
Yeah.
You're playing the two most successful teams in the last 6 or 7 years in the Premier League and expecting Arsenal to run all over them. Football's not like that. You're playing against some of the best players in Europe.
I get that. We've spoken about Arsenal's evolution, and of that there is no doubt. They're changing, they're improving. The big question is, will they win it this season? That has to be the question.
They've got a hell of a chance. They're as well prepared as they've ever been. Now, the one thing I would say, when you watch football, and it's not just Arsenal, lots of teams are guilty of it. I think Chelsea as well, fans I've heard talk about it. There is a lot of recycling the ball. So who's taking more risks? Could Arsenal take more risk when they've got the ball and give up possession more? Yes, I think that's fair.
Okay.
It's a fair assessment.
Right, this risk-averse thing.
The problem is if you do that too often against good quality opposition, the momentum of the game changes because they end up with the ball more and you end up on the back foot.
Yeah.
I think the problem you've got for a lot of the big managers now, including Arteta, is when you've got so many talented players and you want to see all your attack. Of course, fans want to see creativity on the pitch. It's finding the balance in whichever game you're up against. And I think as the season goes on, you will see Arsenal be very, very good in creative terms because they've got so many good players. I wouldn't worry about it.
But the interesting thing is, if you close your eyes and you accept Danny's argument at face value, then you accept it at face value. But Man City are a side that's no longer the Man City of years gone past. They're a side that can be beaten, as has been shown this season on a couple of occasions. In the game against Liverpool, Liverpool are not on it at this moment in time in the way that they were so more coherent this time last year. So if you look at the game at Anfield and you look at the first 45 minutes and you assess the opposition that you're watching, you change at half-time. You don't wait until 60, 70 minutes into the game when potentially the game is starting to change direction. You start laying. So the difference is, whilst you make the argument Liverpool, Man City, you go, well, actually, are Man City the team? No, they're not the same team as they were a couple of years ago. So comparing what Man City might have been like against what Man City are like now, and then saying, well, actually, you have to factor that into the equation, they're not the same side.
Right.
Hence the reasons why they get beat.
I'm glad you've taken us to Man City. I'm glad you've taken us there. Incidentally, Arsenal fans, you are phoning in massive numbers. Now, we're going to deal with as many calls as we can very shortly. 03717 223344. Simon rightly has steered us towards Manchester City, and it's a good time to look at it because Manchester City, are we seeing a different evolution of Manchester City this season? How would you describe it? Is it better, this perceived pragmatic approach? This was Pep.
They were better, and we were incredibly tired. So sometimes the people don't realize. So the game against Napoli, Champions League, was so emotional. And after that recovery day, and they ask you to wait 4 or 5 hours because maybe you don't know, you live in London, you have that privilege, but the people who live in the northeast, so we have 4 or 5 hours to arrive into London, and it's more fatigue and everything. So, and guys, it's a team like they fought last 2 Premier Leagues to win it, and the right semi-final Champions League, and not just Man City invest money, they did it as well, and it's so tough.
I mean, Simon, if you'd seen this fella's reaction during that, then I've got a rough idea what's coming. So believe me, this will be interesting. Guardiola's fatigue complaints, are they genuine?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was going to ask Danny. I mean, is the game more emotional and more physically demanding now than it was all these years ago? Because I have to listen to that. And of course I admire Pep Guardiola. Of course I admire the unique achievements and the things that he's done. And by the way, Donnarumma is some goalkeeper, isn't he? Some goalkeeper negates Arsenal's dead balls left, right, and centre, didn't he? No worry about those corners. But I look at it and go, well, what is that about? Is this what we have to listen to? Which is the modern day manager insulating players from everything by simply saying the emotions of the game. Well, were the European nights back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s and 2010s more challenging than they are now? Is the physicality of the game more challenging? Why do we have to listen to this old fanny?
I found that a strange response. My thinking, I haven't seen any of his interviews after, but I would have said that after losing to Brighton, they went 1-0 up at Brighton, completely dominant, still going at them, and got done on the counter twice and lost. They got done by Spurs on a couple of great counter-attacks. Spurs very clever and cute and breaking on them. And he's probably gone, do you know what? This ain't happening again. That would have been a fairer argument. As for the physical side, didn't Arsenal have to travel to Spain and play there? They didn't look tired.
A couple of days earlier.
Oh, you've only got 25 internationals in your squad as well. It's like ridiculous. Come on.
I mean, what about parking the bus for the last half hour?
Well, that's
what we're seeing in City.
I was really surprised, but when I've thought about it afterwards and this morning, because of that Brighton game, I think that was in the back of his mind. So I kind of get it. The irony was, when it went 1-1, City started bombing forward again. If they were tired, maybe that was the reason.
Were you fatigued in September playing for Liverpool?
I never felt fatigued.
So what's he on about here?
I might have looked it, but I didn't feel it.
Simon's right. When Pep speaks, we listen. And we have to, in view of what the man's achieved. Fatigue.
Well, Napoli had a sending off after in the first half. They played against 10 men for 70-odd minutes. It was the most comfortable Champions League night you're ever going to get.
Let's get to it. So many calls coming in. We'll address them on the other side of the 10:30 bulletin. I mean, on Arsenal, is being risk-averse a bad thing in a title race? Is it going to come back and bite you in the beam end, Arsenal fans? And what about Pep there? Fatigue is one thing, but are we seeing a different evolution of Manchester City this season? How would you describe it? Is it better? City fans, let's hear from you. 03717 223344. Monday morning. Oh yeah, Danny's with us. We're flying through the month. Where's it gone? Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy were live on talkSPORT. Just poring over some of the results and the implications of those results at the weekend in the Premier League specifically. West Ham 1, Crystal Palace 2. So West Ham lost again. Goes from bad to worse. Cannot win a game at home to save their lives, can they? A 2-1 defeat to Crystal Palace. 4 losses and 5 for West Ham this season under Graham Potter. Is Potter clinging on? And no more than that. It's now 8 Premier League games without a home win. Crystal Palace have now won the same amount of games at the London Stadium this calendar year as West Ham have. But before the game, as many as 3,000 West Ham fans decided to protest, to show their anger. Not towards the players, but more specifically towards the ownership. And I'm delighted to say, West Ham fan and host of West Ham Fan TV, Dan Lawless, joins us live this morning. Dan, good morning. Am I right? Was about 3,000 showed up?
Yeah. There was about 3,000 fans showed up. I was one of them. It was a really good protest, very successful, very peaceful. And it just felt good. It felt like the old West Ham, again, to be around passionate fans who love the club and who want positive change. So, it was a good protest.
So that... do this for me. Outline the specific reasons for the protest.
So, when it comes to the protest, I think it's just become the breaking point. Fans have had enough of David Sullivan and want a change. He cannot be running the football club anymore, right? And the club is in decline. It's dying, as far as I'm concerned. We've had thousands and thousands of fans walk away from the stadium, don't want to go anymore, falling out of love with the club, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse unless something changes. And David Sullivan is not fit to run the club. Now, the way I look at it, there's 2 outcomes, right? Best case scenario, he sells up. That's what we want. We all want him to sell up and we want new ownership. However, and I know Simon will come in and say, well, it's unrealistic or whatever. If he is staying, at the very least, someone else has to run the football club and you're just the money. There needs to be a CEO, someone like that comes in and understands football to run the club. He is ill-equipped to run this football club.
Well, I tell you what, why not engage directly with Simon? You've put that out there.
But I don't disagree with the idea that someone else should be running the football side. I've never been a great admirer of David's football acumen. Back in the day when I had Trevor Francis used to say that David Sullivan's way of buying a player was looking at the Rothman's guide. And so I entirely understand. But if David Sullivan is the money in the room, and you accept that he's the money in the room, whatever money you think that is, right, then bring a CEO in by all means, and he will defer to the money. And so the only way you will change the direction of travel, if that's what you really think that you need to do, starting from the fact that Sullivan did two things in my view that were wrong. One, he didn't move the stadium in a way that he could have moved it and made it more palatable to you guys. And two, he opened his mouth and said, I'm going to make you a top six side, and then sold people like Dimitri Payet and never deployed the money and bought the kid in that from Norwich, the right winger from Norwich, Robert Snodgrass, yeah, and made those sort of things. And I get the reasons why. But the reality of it is that what I made an observation last week is not the fact that fans should not be able to protest. Of course you should be able to have your opinion. It's the balance of how far you go with that opinion. And when I saw people issuing ultimatums to the Rangers board saying, unless you get rid of the CEO now, unless you get rid of the manager now, we're going to do this. I think that's pushing it too far, but I don't deny the right for the most important part of the football framework, which is the fans and their emotion, to have their opinion. But when it comes down to it, how are you really going to change it?
So that's the question, Dan. How actually are you going to change it?
Well, listen, I think the protest is a really good start. And I know Sullivan has a very fragile ego and it hurts him. I know that because he comes out in the media time and time again, sometimes through you, Jim, and has to defend himself. And the way I look at it is with the protest, we could look at it and say to Newcastle fans, well, maybe they should have just shut up and just been happy with Mike Ashley and not protested. When you go and look at the Everton fans, maybe they should have been just happy with Mashiri. What about Villa fans with their owner previously? They all wanted change and they got change. This idea that we should be careful what we wish for because of what happened to Birmingham nearly 20 years ago is ridiculous. We have the fit and not proper owners checks now. What happened to Birmingham is very unlikely to happen. Not say it's impossible, but just because that happened to them doesn't mean we shouldn't try and affect change. Now, I believe that there is an appetite for Sullivan to sell. Right, I've heard there's an appetite. However, he's pricing the club way beyond what any reasonable person would buy for it. That's like 800 million. We're not worth that. We don't own our stadium. And so to me, yeah, we can talk about someone owning the football operations. For me, he has to go.
I see where you're going with that, Dan. You're looking at the likes of Newcastle and you think, Ashley's gone, the Saudis are in. We'd love that. You're looking at the likes of Everton. Farhad's gone, the Friedkin Group's in. We'd love that. That's what you're doing. You're looking at what's going on elsewhere and you think, we've got to get into a situation like that.
Yeah. What every other club, when I look at it, has what we don't have. Everton moved stadiums. They have a purpose-built football stadium.
Yeah.
So did Tottenham. He came in with the intention of moving us out of our home to rent an athletic stadium that's not fit for purpose.
Well, same as Man City then. So Man City were fortunate enough, and there was a whole raft of... I find myself in a terrible position because I don't want to defend David Sullivan. I think it's well established my views on him, but it's not just as straightforward as you'd like to make it out. Most of the football clubs in London, if they got an opportunity to have taken that stadium, they would have taken that stadium.
Would you have?
Yeah, but I would have made that. I would have bedded it in properly with the fans. I wouldn't have allowed this crap to go on in terms.
You would have taken Palace from
No. If the National Sports Centre at Crystal Palace, the National Sports Centre was there available to me in the same sort of vicinity, I would have done it. I wouldn't have taken them across to East London. No. But you look at
wait, you would have moved Palace, Simon, if say that same stadium was in South London, right? And exactly how it is, not built for football. Remember, Seb Coe made sure, he said, I do not want it to be built for football. You would have moved out of Selhurst Park into that soulless...
Yeah, but Sebastian Coe doesn't own the stadium. The London Development Federation does. So with due respect to what it was built for.
Yeah.
So what happened?
He had an influence.
I agreed.
And his point is it was an athletic stadium.
So what was the Commonwealth Stadium in Manchester then? When Man City moved from Main Road to Manchester?
They've adapted it.
Well, yeah, that's my point. That's what I would have potentially done with these guys. I would have found a bridge and made that bridge more palatable for everyone to walk across, so that I didn't have to listen to this particular noise.
Even I, as a neutral, when I go and do games and do co-con and stuff, going to West Ham is the poorest one in terms of atmosphere and intensity. It's like it doesn't feel like you're.
And you're so far from the playing area. And the fans have a very difficult view of what they want to watch.
Just out of curiosity, do you see, and I'm playing devil's advocate for the purpose of this conversation, because I'm loath to see, I don't know what you think, I'm loath to see every single football club in this country owned by overseas investment with the motivations that are not about football. They're about something they want in return from it, either financial gain or recognition or credibility for a nation state investment. Is this really what you want for your club? You want it to be owned by some faceless overseas entity that somewhere along the line will not please you? Is that the alternative? Anybody but Sullivan?
Well, I'm getting to the point where it's anyone but Sullivan. I'm not necessarily got an appetite where it has to be an overseas entity. But I look at David Sullivan and what makes him any different, except he doesn't have the funds. He doesn't have the best interests of the club at heart. He has his best interest at heart. Because tell me how moving to the stadium has benefited West Ham and not just David Sullivan. You'll bring up the Conference League trophy. I'll bring up your ticket.
Okay, I'll bring up your ticket pricing because your ticket pricing is very competitive. By the way, when you talk about your club not being worth a certain amount of money, Palace's value is 600 million quid. Do you think Palace were a bigger club than you?
Well, Everton went for cheaper. Everton went for cheaper than 800 million pounds. You own your ground.
Distressed asset. Oh yeah, come off it. I mean, we both know that Selhurst Park is no Palace, is it? I was there for 10 years, so I know what I'm talking about.
Still a great spot.
It's still land.
Okay, so what's land worth then? So is it a hotel building complex that you want then? It's the football team in the Premier League. The only value that West Ham has a significant brand and Newcastle has a significant brand is being in the Premier League. If Newcastle were languishing in the Championship, no one would have bought them for 300 million quid. It's the value of the Premier League.
And we're barely in the Premier League thanks to David Sullivan's ownership, Simon.
Do you think you're going to stay up with what you've got? Do you think you're going to stay up?
Listen, I think we have players there to keep this club up. I think there's an 11 there that's good enough to stay up. However, I just look at the manager currently. I don't think he knows what he's doing. I think he's kind of lost in terms of finding an alternative. I don't think he's the manager you want when your back's against the wall.
Dan, to finish with,
and I've heard him say that.
Do you want Potter out and then the club sold?
Well, yeah. Ultimately, that's the two outcomes.
Would you be saying that if you were played 5-1-5?
Of course not.
Yeah, well, when I look at it, it's not just played. Yeah, if we played 5-1-5, would I want the club sold? Is that what you was asking? So I didn't hear the full
Both
question.
of these things. Do you have faith in Potter, regardless of recent results? Have they been doing reasonably well? Would you back him, or would you still want to move on? And do you want the club sold no matter what?
Yeah, listen, I don't have faith in Potter based on some of his decision making in games. I want the club sold no matter what, because for me, the big sticking point has been the move to the stadium, and what they've done is unforgivable. I just did a video in June why I gave up my season ticket. I've walked away from the stadium. I had hundreds and hundreds of comments from fans, heartbreaking comments, people going since the 50s, 60s, 70s that walked away from West Ham. Okay. 29,000, it was reported, season ticket holders walked away as of February.
Okay,
now
Dan.
we're getting to Upton Park capacity, have left West Ham. It's not the same. We've got Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United fans over there, week in, week out. It is unforgivable.
It's a sad state of affairs, Dan.